Two men were locked in the same prison, same cell, same bars, same tiny window near the ceiling. They were sentenced on the same day for the same length of time. One of them walked out of that prison broken, hollow, a shell of the man he used to be. The other walked out stronger, calmer, and more at peace than the day he went in. Same cell, same sentence, same window. So what was the difference? The answer is the single most important thing no one ever taught you about your own mind. And by the end of this story, you are going to see your own life completely differently. Stay with me. Their names were Thomas and Elias. When the cell door first slammed shut behind them, both men felt the same thing: despair. That cold, heavy weight that sinks into your chest when you realize the life you knew is gone. For the first few nights, they were identical. Both stared at the ceiling. Both replayed every mistake. Both asked the same silent question into the dark. How did my life come to this? But somewhere in that first week, quietly, without either of them announcing it, the two men began to walk down two very different roads. And it started with one small thing: the window. High on the wall of their cell was a small barred window, too high to climb to, too small to escape through, just a square of gray sky. Thomas hated that window. To him, it was a cruel joke, a reminder of everything he had lost, the freedom, the sky he could no longer walk under. Every time he looked at it, he felt the walls close in a little tighter, so he stopped looking at it. Elias saw the same window, but every single morning, he pulled himself up onto the small bench beneath it just to catch the first gray light of dawn. Thomas watched him do it and finally snapped. "Why do you keep looking out there? There's nothing to see. It's the same gray sky. It doesn't change anything. We're still stuck in here." Elias smiled, and what he said next stayed with Thomas for years. "You're right. The window doesn't change the cell." He paused. "But it reminds me the world is still out there. And one day, I'm going to walk back into it. I want to be ready when I do." Thomas rolled over and said nothing, but he never forgot those words. Now here is where the two roads truly split. Because a mind is not a passive thing. It is a garden, and whatever you plant in it, day after day, is what grows. Thomas planted bitterness. Every day he told himself the same story. "My life is over. The system ruined me. Nothing I do matters now." He said it so many times that it stopped feeling like a thought and started feeling like a fact. And slowly, that story became a prison far stronger than the one made of iron and stone. He stopped exercising, stopped reading, stopped talking. He let his mind rot in the same cell his body was trapped in. Elias planted something different. He couldn't change the walls, he knew that. So instead, he changed the only thing he actually had power over: himself. He asked the guards for books, and he read every one twice. He did push-ups in the narrow space beside his bed until his arms shook. He learned a new word every day and taught it to Thomas whether Thomas wanted to hear it or not. And when the dark thoughts came, and they always came, Elias did not pretend they weren't there. He simply refused to let them move in and stay. He would look up at that gray window and whisper the same thing to himself: "This is not forever, and I am still becoming who I want to be." Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. That's just denial. That's pretending everything is fine when it isn't. And that is the most important misunderstanding about positive thinking there is. Elias was not pretending. He knew exactly how bad his situation was. He felt the fear. He felt the loss. He felt the injustice of it all, just as sharply as Thomas did. The difference was not that Elias ignored the darkness. The difference was that he refused to let the darkness become his identity. Thomas said, "I am ruined." Elias said, "I'm in a hard place and I am still growing." Two men, same facts, two completely different worlds, built entirely inside their own heads. The years passed, and you could see the difference on their faces long before you could measure it in their lives. Thomas grew older and harder. His shoulders sank. The light went out of his eyes. He became the very thing he feared most. A man defined by his worst moment. Elias grew older too, but somehow he grew lighter, stronger. His mind was sharper than the day he arrived. He had read hundreds of books. He had learned 2 new languages. He had spent years quietly rebuilding the one thing no prison could ever take from him: his own character. Then the day came that both men had counted down to for years: release. They walked out of the same gate on the same afternoon into the same free world. And this is the part I need you to really hear. Thomas was free, but he didn't feel free. He carried the prison out with him. In his mind, he was still trapped, still bitter, still telling himself the same old story. The world owes me. Nothing will ever work out for me. Within a year, he had built himself a new cell, one made not of iron, but of resentment and fear. And that cell had no release date. Elias walked out and never looked back. He had spent his years becoming someone the world actually needed. He found work. He rebuilt relationships. He eventually spent his life helping others who felt trapped, in prisons both real and invisible. And when people asked him how he survived all those years, he always gave the same answer. "I was never really in prison," he would say. "My body was, but I decided every single morning that my mind would be free. And in the end, that is the only freedom that actually matters." Here's what I want you to take from this. You're probably not in a prison made of stone, but almost all of us are living in a prison made of our own thoughts. "I'm too old to start over. I always fail. It's too late for me. People like me don't get lucky." We repeat these sentences so many times that we stop noticing them, and they quietly become the walls of the life we live in. Positive thinking is not about pretending those walls aren't there. It is about realizing that you, and only you, decide what story you plant in your mind every single day. Because your mind is a garden. Plant bitterness, and you will live in a jungle of it. Plant hope, discipline, and gratitude, and slowly, quietly, those things will grow too, even in the hardest soil, even behind the coldest walls. 2 men, the same cell, the same sky. One built a prison in his mind, the other built a doorway. The only question that matters is the one you get to answer every morning when you wake up. Which one are you building today? If this story hit you, do one thing for me right now. Leave a comment and tell me, what is one story you've been telling yourself that you're ready to stop believing? Just one. I read every single reply. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Wise Stranger, where one story can change the way you see your life. Because in the end, the walls around you matter far less than the walls inside you. So choose your thoughts carefully. You are building the world you're about to live in.